discussion with somebody who believed they were an apostle.
Yeah, exactly. Many
I
Christians
just looked
claim.
through the Bible.
Many Christians claim that
To
they have
start
seen
a church.
Jesus. They have seen Jesus.
Well, Paul didn't see him in the flesh, as it were.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Just
yeah.
like these people who claim to be apostles.
Yeah, but
that
there are
later,
other criteria. You need to found a church, like start some sort of church. Come with only the true message of Christ, because obviously.
What do you mean start a church? You mean like build a physical church? Because many people have done that.
No, the definition of a church is just the community, the body of Christ within that.
Which was already there. So he didn't really build anything.
Well, he greatly influenced the early church by all of his letters.
That I would accept.
Exactly.
He influenced
He was
them.
formative in.
So
putting them
his
together.
teachings, basically, I was telling this gentleman here, most of the writings of the New Testament are attributed to Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Very
sure.
less to Jesus himself.
And I think the wonder of that is that God took an anti-Christian, anti-Christ persona in Paul. He persecuted the church, he persecuted the early Christians, and what he did with him is he made him one of the best evangelists of all time, and at one point had him chained to Roman guards where he could continue preaching and touch those lives as well. So
yeah, but lots of people were persecuted, not just Paul.
yeah, but they were not as good as Paul.
You know, all the apostles, they were all killed basically.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, for their belief in the risen
Exactly.
Christ.
So it wasn't just Paul who was persecuted, all of them were.
I mean, through that persecution, he was able to further spread the message, not only to first century Jews.
Would you not
but
say he
within
changed the
wider
message of
remit.
Jesus?
In what? Okay, so give me your.
So, for one example, he made certain laws. Basically, he changed the law of circumcision, for example, which none of the prophets, including Jesus,
As far as I'm aware,
he said it's a circumcision of the heart,
Yes.
not of the flesh.
But there's also a quote, and I don't know if it's attributed to Paul, but it says circumcision or non-circumcision is merely adherence to the law, and then goes on to say like it's meaningless without the grace of Christ. I'll find it.
It cannot be meaningless because it was actually.
It's not. It doesn't have
Who was,
salvific.
who was the first person to circumcise?
My argument is it doesn't have Abraham.
Yes.
It doesn't have
And
salvific.
do you know what?
It doesn't have salvific ramificacs. If
Okay,
you're non.
do you know what a covenant is?
Of course I do.
Do you think circumcision was a covenant?
In the old one, yes.
So how can that be insignificant if it's a
Not
covenant?
insignificant, but they didn't have salvation through Christ. They had
It's
righteousness.
not about salvation. A covenant is a law that has to be followed
And do you
until God says otherwise.
Otherwise, and he said otherwise when he lived on earth.
No, Paul
said.
Who? Jesus.
Christ, God, you said. And
So when did Jesus ever say you don't need to circumcise?
well, let me tell you.
Okay, go on.
So Christ said he came not to abolish, as you know, he came to fulfill. That was with regard to the sacrificial. With regard to the dietary requirements, Christ himself said, probably reported by Paul to be fair, but he said, and I take his word as
Reported by
gospel.
Paul. Paul never met him. How
Listen.
can you report from him?
Well, maybe it was James actually. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he said it defileth not. No, I'm doing KJV. Nothing that enters the mouth can defile a man because it passes merely into the void. That which comes from the heart out of the mouth is the only thing that can defile you. Whereby.
What's that got to do with circumcision?
I tell you what, it's got to do with the
dietary law.
No, let me tell you what it's got to do with it. The dietary requirements were part of the covenant. To imply that nothing you eat or drink can defile you means that covenant is no longer standing in Christ, and therefore the new covenant.
It wasn't James. James
Who was
James rebuked Paul for doing that. Do you know that?
It was Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you know why?
Christ's word.
No.
Paul
Okay,
is my
listen.
argument.
Do you know why Paul was rebuked by James and the Council of Jerusalem
They
for
didn't.
that? They did. Because what he was doing.
No, I didn't finish my sentence. I think
I thought
because
you
they
did.
didn't initially accept him as an apostle.
No, it wasn't for that. It was for him preaching that the dietary laws were not required for anyone, including the Jews. So, wait,
I have
let
to
me
ask
finish.
you a question.
Yeah, after I finish, you can hold your thought like the way I did. Jesus, the Jerusalem Council, yes, they actually summoned Paul specifically for this because he was preaching that the dietary laws were not required anymore, including for the Jews.
Yep.
So they summoned him and they rebuked him for doing so. And he had to accept hold the thought. He had to accept what the council told, and in fact they made him go through himself, so he had to sacrifice the purification. He had to sacrifice. This was after Jesus' ascension, so sacrifice an animal. I wonder why was that required if the sacrifice is no longer required.
Did the council constitute Jews
Hold that,
as well
hold
as
that thought,
Christians?
hold that thought.
It's not
I
a
haven't
thought,
finished
it's a
it.
question.
Yeah, after I finish. What's that? I don't know, check it, mate. Okay, so what I'm saying is that the reason they rebuked him is for this. Because Jesus said, I've come to fulfill the law. Yes, not to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yes, he also said, anyone who changes a law, even a jot, yes, is the least in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
do you know what that
still
means?
in heaven, yeah.
No, least in the kingdom. Yes.
Not in hell.
What does it mean, least? Means you're not like
less
the...
than.
Yeah, it means like you're the least. You're the lowest in the heaven. Means the lowest status in heaven goes to the person who changes the law.
Yes, yes.
Why did Jesus say that? If the law is actually going to be changed
I've got
later
too
on.
many thoughts now to get on with. So
Yeah, that's why you should
when
write them
say-
down, maybe.
Wow, let's not get
I-
carried away.
I normally do remember,
When
or at least try to remember.
Exactly, it's difficult when you're talking a lot, like, and me as well. So what I would ask
Sorry, I
is,
don't even know where that goes.
it came from that one.
I'll just hold it.
So my question is,
We'll fix it. Sorry.
my question is, the Jews that Paul preached to,
Yeah.
alongside the Christians who he was ministering to. So, as my understanding, it wasn't necessarily a distinction between Jews and Christians, but he was preaching to Gentile converts and Jewish converts. So, are you saying Judaism as a whole? He said the old style Jews, the old covenant Jews, no longer had this dietary requirement.
Yeah, Judaism is a different religion. You know that.
But what you said, if you rewind,
What I said was
he
like-
was preaching it to Jews,
Yeah.
Jews as well.
So even the new
You mean
converts,
Christian,
yeah, even
Christians.
well, they call them Messianic Jews.
Yeah,
Messianic Jews.
They do now.
So,
At the time they
so
called
Messianic Jews
Christians.
were basically still Jews. Yes, so they went by
Yeah, by the bloodline,
Yes.
and then they became saved through Christ.
That's right. So why would Jesus say that anyone who changes the law is to be called the least in the kingdom of heaven? If the law was,
When Christ himself changed the law as well.
so are you saying he was
Paul is-
contradicting himself?
No, I'm not actually.
So can you please address the bit I'm saying?
Yeah.
What,
I'm
what did
about
Jesus
to.
mean?
I'm about
Yeah,
to.
good.
I'm
Go on.
saying that Paul is quoting Christ. So Paul did not change the law. Paul didn't have a revelation.
This
of
is
his
in the
own.
Gospel of Matthew, I think. Wasn't Paul? Anyone who changes the law is
No,
called
no,
the least
the
in the
part
kingdom of
about
heaven. That's the bit I want you to address.
I know, and by Paul proclaiming that no one can be defiled through dietary means. Obviously, they can be defiled in other ways, but
Let's put that on our side burner for now. Let's address this first.
No, I think they're
We are talking about
but they
circumcision
don't
and the law,
well,
not dietary laws.
circumcision is one part of the Mosaic law. Dietary requirements are another part of the same law.
No,
So
God
one-
said
yes.
circumcision was
No,
until
Moses came with
Okay,
one law.
okay, hold on. Circumcision in the time of Abraham, God actually specifically said that this covenant is going to be until the end of
Your
time.
descendants and
No,
your whole
yes,
family.
yes,
House.
for your descendants until the end of time. Do you think it was the end of time 2,000 years ago? It wasn't. So why did Paul say it is no longer the circumcision of the flesh, but of the heart?
Yeah, okay. So the Gentiles who were converting to Christianity were not the descendants of Abraham. We can
Yeah,
both agree
we
on
know
that.
that, yeah.
So Paul's focus, at one point at least, was to hash out the differences between new converts to Christ, whether they were Jewish or Gentile. Therefore, if he's preaching one message of Christ and he knows that half of the people he's speaking to don't have these requirements, they've got no dietary requirements anyway, unless they had some pagan, I don't know, they've got no circumcision requirements. So the law does not apply to them in the first instance. It's not being negated for them, it's being transformed for the Jewish Christians, because they now not only have their old covenant, they know that they don't need to work their way into God's favour. They can't work their way into God's favour.
Why?
Why can't they? Because legalism is not a salvific requirement of the New Testament.
Well, the Bible
It's
says
no,
the Father will look at the works.
But when you say the Bible, he will
Shall I
look
show you?
at them. He will look at them as a result of the grace. So through the Holy Spirit, you have the fruits of the Spirit that will produce good works in you. Nobody's saying that works are meaningless.
Okay.
Obviously,
As long as we have
Yeah.
understanding, yes.
Exactly, but they don't.
Right.
But they will not get you into heaven. Without the blood of Christ, the works are as filthy rags to the Lord.
So grace and works are important. That's what James said.
Yes, they're both
Because,
important, but only one of them has
because
salvation.
faith without works is dead.
Yes, because it shows you don't have the grace, you don't have the spirit
So-
of truth and...
All right, I'm still waiting for you to address the question I asked with regards to why Jesus said anyone who changes the law will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that as Christ himself gave a new covenant, he in effect changed. He didn't change the rules for the laws. Sorry, for the old Jews, the ones who will not follow him and aren't predestined and foreknown by the Father. But the people who recognise him as God, he gives them a whole new set of requirements and negates some of the old ones, as we spoke about.
But that goes against what he said. He said he's basically telling you not to change the law.
I understand.
And anyone who changes, anyone who changes,
This
even
is
a
my
dot.
point, though. But this is my point.
What's your
Paul
point?
didn't receive a revelation and say, "Oh, by the way, you don't need to do this." He is quoting Christ himself. So Christ, the author and finisher of my faith, can't be accused of going against his. It's his law to give, and it's his law to modify, and it's his law to judge us upon.
The modify is the bit I'm trying to address here, because
I'm saying Paul didn't change the law.
so basically he didn't change anything about
He
circumcision then.
quoted Christ.
About circumcision?
of the heart doesn't affect circumcision of the body, does it? He's saying that this is paramount.
So is the circumcision of the flesh required or not?
Years. No, not for
Not
Christians.
required.
For Jews, yes.
Okay.
For Muslims, yes.
So basically God's covenant.
Women, not at all.
So God's covenant was only with the Jewish people.
Yes.
Yes. And Jesus came only for the.
He came for Israel, and he said, don't even try and get me into that cul-de-sac. He said, there are sheep that know my voice who are not of this flock.
Yeah, and
through John 3:16, we know that he came for the whole world, and that his blood will wash away the sins of anybody.
So when Jesus said, "I've not come except for the lost sheep of Israel," was he actually not telling the truth?
What about the other flock? Who are the other flock, do you believe?
No. When he said, "I've not come except for the lost
I'm
sheep,"
going to put that on the back burner and ask you, who
What?
do you believe are the sheep that know his voice, who are not of Israel?
how do you know? Did he say not of Israel?
He said, not of this flock.
Not of this flock?
Yeah.
Which flock?
Israel.
Yeah.
He came for the lost sheep of Israel.
Okay.
So these are the lost sheep. Oh, there's another flock over there, but they also know my voice.
Okay. So is a contradiction then?
I don't believe so, no.
So try to reconcile it then.
I don't need to because I'm not Muslim. So
It's not my Bible. It's your Bible.
I'm not saying you're all Muslim.
So why do Muslims have to reconcile your Bible?
Your Bible, because Allah
No, it's
revealed
not.
it according to... Wow, you're contradicting Allah. Okay.
Allah doesn't use the word Bible
No, he
anywhere in
says
the
the
Quran.
Torah, the Injil, and the
Yes.
Psalm.
And we know the Bible is not the Torah, Injil, and the Psalm.
Let's get back to the issue. The Quran says if you find a contradiction, and I can find them, if you find a contradiction, it's all in error. Whereas the Bible doesn't, because the Bible is 66 or 80.
So go on, reconcile it then.
Hold on a minute.
I've not come except for the
Let
lost sheep
me
of Israel,
finish, though,
and then
Hashim.
the other flock.
Hashim, let's just finish this part.
Okay, go on.
If you find a seeming contradiction in the Bible, my advice would be to go to a Christian scholar anyway, because that's what Muslims always do. They go to a Muslim scholar to find it, But if you find a seemingly irreconcilable contradiction, it still means nothing because the Bible doesn't span 23 years of revelation. It spans thousands of years at least over 50 authors.
Unknown authors?
More than...
We don't know who they are.
Unknown. No.
So do you know any of the 50 authors?
Do you know of Moses? He's in the Quran.
Moses is the author.
He's the subject.
Okay, let's get that straight. Moses.
You're deflecting.
No, I'm not.
So do you accept that the Bible doesn't need to scrutinize itself for supposed contradictions because you need the Holy Spirit? Is my first claim, to decipher the words within it.
And how do you know you have the Holy Spirit?
By the fruits. By their fruits you will know them, and you will know them by their fruits.
What do you mean by the fruits? Who's going to see your fruits?
I'll tell you the fruits. Peace, patience, kindness, goodness, long-suffering. I can't remember them, so I'm feeling a bit embarrassed. But there are 9 of them.
Right, so even atheists have them, so...
Not in and of themselves.
Why not? There are many good atheists out there. Yes, better than some of the so-called religious people out there. Yes.
So-called religious people, but not true people who have...
No, but look, everyone claims. For example, there are many priests in the church who say that they are priests, men of God.
Yes.
But then we read the headlines that they actually abuse thousands of children.
Because they're actually sinners.
And then the church turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
Now, if the priest
similarly to the Muslim community,
No, I don't think we
imams with any problems,
I'm not saying the imams. I'm not saying the imams are. Yeah, I know, but yours is a claim, and you have to verify that. I can actually show you. Just go on Google right now,
No, I
and you say.
understand about
But
that.
you try to do that. If there is this, some sort of
contradiction.
no, some sort of planned conspiracy in a way to conceal this abuse of children.
Yes.
Yes. In the masjids, then yes, please show us, because I haven't come across any.
I know.
But I know for a fact many of the priests in the churches, and I'm including both Catholic and Protestant preach. Yes, like in Pennsylvania and so on, there are thousands of children being abused over, I don't know, so many years, and nobody.
I would counter you with this.
My point is, like, anyone can claim to be religious, but they are not.
Men can be sinners. So, and that is my evidence. So you've helped me ascertain that the fruits of the Spirit come for the true believer and those who are truly faithful to God.
And that's the reason I asked you.
Not just paying lip service, not just putting the collar on.
That's the reason I asked you. Why would Paul change the covenant of covenant? Let me finish, please. Okay. Why would he change the covenant of circumcision, which God said is until the end of time? Yes?
I don't know.
So
where did he say that?
That's in the Old Testament, when the covenant was given to Abraham.
For his descendants for all time.
Yes, until the end of time.
But not for the Gentiles.
So would God have different laws? Would God discriminate?
Yes, of course he would. It's not discrimination, it's discernment.
No, discriminate based on a race. So if you're Jewish,
he would.
You have this law.
Israel is beloved of God.
If you have this
in the Quran also, yes, he would.
Israel got rebuked so many times by God.
Rebuked because they are his beloved people. If you don't care, you just smite them.
So isn't that kind of discrimination?
If it is, it's the God of the universe doing it. So after you,
what do you mean after me?
I mean,
the law,
Judgment Day,
in Islam,
bring it up.
in Islam, the law is the same for everyone, regardless of whether you're racist.
Unless you're nijas, unless you're an apostate, unless you're a woman.
No, an apostate is not a Muslim. So obviously.
Well, they were a Muslim, obviously.
Okay, why do you always cut me off? Let me finish my statement. So what I'm saying is this: if you're a Muslim, yes, the law applies to everyone. So whether you come from a Jewish race, whether you come from your background is Christian or your background is pagan, like most of the Quraysh were, who became Muslim, yes, the law was the same for everyone. So universal law applicable to everyone, and the Sharia applies to everyone, regardless of what your background is, whether it's Arab, non-Arab, Jewish, non-Jewish, doesn't matter. But it seems like in Christianity, you have two laws: one law for the Jewish race, another law for the Gentiles.
Okay, how many schools of Sharia are there?
What's that got to do with the law?
It's my question, so I'd like
No, but you're changing the topic now.
No, you said the law is the same. If there are 4 different jurisprudence...
the law is the same.
Oh, so why...
So, for example, look...
How do they differ then,
okay,
is my question.
Who differ?
How do the 4...
The fiqh, the jurisprudence laws are different. Jurisprudence doesn't mean, like, for example, our belief in Allah is the same. So, same thing with regards to the punishments. So if somebody commits a murder, whether the background is Jewish or Arab or non-Arab, they get the same punishment.
Okay.
With regards to circumcision, it's for everyone again.
Yeah.
Yes? But in Christianity, you seem to have a different law for the Jewish people,
okay,
or Jewish race, and a different law for the Gentiles.
All right,
to me, that seems like a clear-cut
discrimination, like a jizya sort of thing, like a situation where...
Again, jizya doesn't apply to Muslims.
But you've asked me to counter, so I'm
asking
those
who
I'm
became
going back
Christians.
to what you said a moment ago. You're digging out the church, which is fair enough. That's society as well is condemned within that, because the law is not of the church, the law is of the state. So the law could have acted sooner with grooming gangs and paedophilia within the church.
We're talking about religious law. We're not talking about the law of the land.
But there is no Sharia for Christianity. There's ecumenical council.
No.
Hold on, let me finish my point anyway. So you're saying that...
I'm talking the Bible.
I know you are. You love talking about the Bible. You should come to Christ. So the point
I am already with Christ.
Excellent. That's Isa. Right, so...
Isa is Christ.
My point is that
it's called Messiah in Arabic.
To say that God is discriminatory over his treatment of Israel
is he not?
The Gentiles, he is in the Quran also.
How?
Because Israel is the favoured nation.
We're talking about since the Quran was... Listen. Since the Quran was revealed...
Oh, not since the beginning of time, because Adam was a Muslim, wasn't he?
Adam wasn't a Jew either.
I said he was a Muslim, wasn't he? Don't you believe that?
No, but we're talking about the law, the Sharia right now.
I thought you were talking about the Quran.
Can we stick to one topic?
Not your
because
topic, yes,
you seem to be going all over the place.
Because you chat, and I'm trying to...
For you, the law of Jesus Christ, or the law...
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah, listen to the question. Okay. If Christ was your last prophet, last messenger, the one to bring your the law to you, then
I'll tell you it.
I'm saying his law should be equal for everyone, not
It is.
separate law
Okay,
for the
are you
No,
ready
it's not.
for it?
You said.
Are you ready
Yeah,
for
but
it?
you need to understand. You need to acknowledge that the law is different for the Jewish people and the law is different for the Gentiles.
Okay, so the
Christianity.
law for Christians, which is all that Christ can proclaim, because there are antichrist, there are religion.
let's stick to Christians.
So Christians, these are the two most important commandments.
Yeah.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbour as yourself. Whether your neighbour is Jewish, Muslim, a murderer, a liar, a thief. So those are Christ himself said these are the two most important things I'm going to tell you.
Right.
So it's love.
What if your neighbor is a
So
terrorist?
love does not. What about it?
What do you
would
do?
love them.
Do you love him?
Do you have neighbours on the other side who you want to protect?
No.
Or you just
if
in a
if your
house?
neighbor was a terrorist,
Yep.
would you report him?
Potentially.
So it's not loving him now.
Yes, it is. Of course. Oh, that's disgusting. You know why it's loving him? You know why?
Why is it loving him?
Because he's fallen so far from the truth of God
Right.
that he needs to be disciplined in order to realise fully his mistakes. It depends whether he's planning to be a terrorist, whether he's just been misguided somewhere. But the fact is that just because somebody's a sinner, Christ himself said that this murderer or this thief on the cross will see me in heaven. He loved everybody. He prayed for those who had crucified him. And if he can love his killers, I can love a terrorist. I can love.
There's a difference
Muslim and
between a
Jew.
killer and a terrorist.
No, there isn't. If they've already committed their terrorism.
For example, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ forgave the killer of his uncle.
So you think? Sorry,
Let me
you think
finish.
it's
Why do you-
rubbish
I'll let
to
you
report-
speak. Kill
You
it.
said that Christians don't report paedophilia, but you're saying.
Kill. Calm
you don't-
down. Calm down.
And
When I'm
finished this
speaking,
sentence.
no.
And you said, I'm not your demon. You said that if you report somebody, how can you love them?
It's not called loving. When you
Imams have this feeling.
hold on, let me have a word in between, because what you're trying to do is
There's a lot of
you're
words.
trying to, I don't know, somehow
trying
take
to
over the
equate.
discussion. So
No,
just
really.
listen is a two-way thing. You listen and you
Did you
speak.
take on board what I said?
Yes, I did. What I'm saying is that for you to say love, I think your meaning of love is quite broad maybe, but what I'm saying is when you love someone, for example, Hitler was a terrorist to me. Would you love Hitler?
Christ loved him. Christ told me.
Would you love Hitler?
Christ, my God, told me. So let
Yeah.
me finish the sentence. You will love them as I have loved you.
Yeah.
In God's eyes, I am a murderer because I've hated in my heart. In God's eyes, I am an adulteress because I've lusted with my eyes and in my heart. So I am already condemned to death, the same as Hitler.
Stop, isn't it? Thank you.
And if God can love him, then I have, I can. It doesn't mean I
But do you? Do you love Hitler?
know him.
You don't need to know him. You know about him.
I know he was very, very, very sick.
Do you love him?
Do you?
I don't.
Would you pass him up to the police
I
if he was your neighbour?
I would definitely.
Well,
if he was
but you
Hitler, I would
have
definitely.
hate.
I would definitely.
Would you do
In
have
fact, even if he wasn't my neighbor, or even if he was someone I knew well,
I'm told to hate my
So-
enemy. So if I set him
no,
up
you're
as
told
my
to love your enemy.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. I'm so sorry. So if I set him up as my enemy theologically, civilly, societally,
So do you love Nazis then?
I have to love everybody. Do you not hear
Nazis.
me?
You love Nazis.
You can pick and choose who you want me to love.
Well, I'm trying to see if you're
Christ told-
consistent. That's all.
Christ told me, love your neighbour as yourself and love your enemy. Bless those who curse you, pray for those who despitefully use you. He didn't say, oh, but by the way, you can just hate this group. Or by the way, there will be...
You know, many English people will be very upset when you say you love Hitler and the Nazis, because
Why would many English people
the
say
reason for that is because Hitler wanted to take over Britain.
Yes.
And the reason Britain fought the Nazis, and in fact all of Europe fought him,
Yes.
was for the reason because he was an oppressor. In Islam, let me finish. In Islam, we have this principle that if someone is an oppressor, then you either use force, yes, or at least speak out against him, or if you cannot even do that, then at
Unless
least
they're a terrorist, 'cause
at
you
least
could
you're
have
doing it again.
I know,
Okay, let
because
me
the
finish.
contradictions
Let me
are
finish. Yeah,
hurting.
keep it in your head and then tell me when I
talk for
finish.
too long.
If you're unable to do that, then maybe we should end this
But you
discussion.
talk
But I don't want to
too
talk
long.
over you.
But you can't
And I
do
don't
it
want.
anyway.
Yes.
Carry
So
on.
hear me out.
Yep.
If someone is an oppressor, you got to force him to basically stop his oppression. And if you can't do that, then at least speak out against him. If you cannot even do that, at least in your heart consider it to be wrong. And this is the principle we use in Islam. So if someone is a terrorist, you don't love them. You do not say, this oppressor, let him go about rampaging and killing and murdering and raping women and children, and you say, I love you.
Is it my
No,
turn
that
yet?
is, no, not yet, not yet. Let me
you're just
finish.
talking to the camera.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Yeah, you can hear me as well.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that if you come across such a person, you do not love them. you speak out against them. And this is exactly what happened during the time of the Amalekites. When I asked a Christian, why would God punish women and children and even the infants and the donkeys and the
How many
oxen?
subjects do you want me to try?
No, it's the same
answer?
topic, same topic.
How many?
I'm asking you, if God wanted you to love them,
So can I
why
start
did
now?
God sanction the killing of the Amalekites by his
Yeah.
chosen people?
Brilliant, got you.
Good.
He didn't sanction the loving of the Amalekites because they're no longer here because God deemed it fit for them to be destroyed. So that's one thing. Two,
So no loving, yeah? No loving there.
I let you speak.
Yes, good.
Almost.
Just wanted to
So
confirm.
what? So loving does not mean approving of, condoning, assisting. I could love my child if my child done a horrific crime. I could love them just as I was walking them into the court for the judge to decide whether
Does it
they
include
were
killing?
guilty. You're still speaking. So therefore, love does not condone. So I can have love for my enemies, and so could Christ, not by loving their actions or their personality,
Just killing
but by
them.
loving the image of God within them.
Just killing them is loving, right?
Who said so?
Amalekites.
I've already answered you that.
No, you haven't.
Didn't love God decided for their destruction. They don't exist today.
Is that loving? I'm asking
Christ
you.
who
Let's be
came back-
consistent.
So Christ
Is
who-
killing them
so
loving?
Christ who
Because
came
I really lost
hundreds
the
of years
understanding
after the
of love and
Amalekites.
killing.
Well, if you try and listen, Christ came after the Amalekites in the flesh. He does not.
Christ
command-
ordered the Amalekites death. He was God, remember?
And that's why he doesn't command me to love them because they're no longer here.
Also, you don't love them.
Who are they? They're not here.
They don't have to be here. Neither is Hitler.
I don't have to
But you
be
just
here.
said you love him.
I didn't say I love him.
Also, you don't love him.
I don't know him. I love my enemies.
The reason you're not
He's an enemy of
consistent,
me.
Kay, look, it's
No,
very
I
clear.
am
It's
consistent.
very clear. You either love them.
Love is patient.
Look,
Love is
but
kind.
if loving
Does not
Okay,
boast.
does love include
you-
killing them?
Got you. Can I answer you?
Yeah.
So
Please
you
make
said-
sure you answer that
Yes.
question.
You said-
Does love include killing them?
I will answer you if you allow me to speak. So earlier you said our ideas of love must be very different.
Yeah.
And I would
It's
say
clearly
that the Bible gives a clear definition of what love is.
Which
And
is?
I just quoted it to start with. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not boast, it does not envy.
I didn't see the word killing in there.
It's not a loving act to kill somebody.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wait.
Finally.
Wait,
Go on.
because they are created in the image of God. God alone knows their destiny, God alone knows their motivation, and God alone knows what has influenced them to become the person they are.
So God did not love the
excuse me,
Amalekites.
Hitler, the Amalekites, whomever they are, God has deemed it fit for them to die with the wages of sin, that is death. Their punishment in hell will be far greater than any that I could wish for them if I was a hateful person, which I'm not. So when my own God commands me to love, your opinion, with all due respect, is irrelevant to me, because on Judgment Day we may be standing side by
for-
side, but I will be judged by my
So
creator.
basically you're telling me now that
Love
love your
enemies.
enemy has no meaning.
No, you don't have to kill someone if you love them. You leave that to
I agree with that.
Exactly, so you leave it to God.
So now,
Who is the judge of mankind in the Quran?
so wait a minute. If you were a Christian, let's say you were,
am a Christian.
let's say if you were a Christian who was ruling by the Bible,
Okay.
yes,
Yep.
and you're the queen,
If you like.
hypothetically
Yep.
speaking,
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
and you had to rule by the Bible,
Yep.
and if your neighboring country comes and invades your country, what do? According to the Bible.
Okay, in my first instance, I pray for those who are persecuting me.
Yeah.
I would, I suppose, convene with any ministers of state for their, valued opinions. I would pray that God would.
I said they attacked you already.
I know. Yeah.
So
it's my kingdom.
Yeah.
It's a big kingdom.
Yeah, what do you
They're
do?
only at the outskirts at the moment.
No, I said they already attacked you, means they're inside the
Personally,
country.
on my nation.
No, your nation.
Okay, so whilst they're invading, I pray, I ask for guidance, I ask for physical guidance from military strategists, whomever, defensive, such and such.
Yeah.
But the initial thing, God tells us, take all things to Him in prayer, cast all your anxieties on Him. So I have to trust that the Lord. Okay, so in Jeremiah 29 it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope." And I know that Yahweh, my God, in this hypothetical,
Yeah.
unless He's bringing some great judgment upon my
While you're doing that, they're advancing forward. What do you do
That's
then?
fine.
What do you
Pray.
do? Just pray.
No,
So basically you're telling me,
do defensive strategy.
which means military killing?
Do you think?
Does it include killing?
So you've gone from capital punishment to military action.
No, I said it's an attack
Killing.
by a country, yes.
Yeah.
Does it include killing?
People will die. Yeah.
So does it include your order to kill them?
No,
Because you're the-
it involves my order because I'm the queen. So
Yes.
shush. It involves my order to defend the land at all costs.
Yes, including killing them.
At all costs.
Including killing
Do you
them.
understand what
No,
at all
no,
costs
you're
means?
trying to be very diplomatic. I'm trying to
I'm the
understand.
Queen.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
But basically, you will include, when you say a military strategy, does that include killing your enemies?
Defence at all costs.
Including killing, right?
Well, that is one of the costs.
Good. So loving the enemy includes killing them.
No, it doesn't.
But you just said killing.
No, they're not. No, an enemy. So, okay, so let.
You're the enemy, obviously. They're coming to. They have come to attack your country.
Right.
Now you're the queen. You're ruling by the Bible.
Okay, I'll talk to you in a minute.
Sorry?
Islam. Wait,
Exactly. Kill or be killed. Yeah.
Islam deems people enemies of the religion just by dint of their birth or their theological views.
Where do you get that from? Enemy of the religion.
Kafirs.
You know what kafir means?
A non-Muslim.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Apparently,
How
you
do-
get to kill them where you find
Is
them.
it-
Don't distract me. I'm the queen. I'm talking.
No, you're not the queen anymore. You're now.
I've abdicated.
No, because I revoked your powers of the queen, which I gave you
Really?
earlier.
He's almighty, people.
Okay,
Who knows?
so now we have used, by the way, where in the Bible, in the New Testament, does it say you can kill your enemies?
It doesn't.
So you just said,
I said by all
wait,
means.
you said by all means, does that include your own person?
I'm not each individual soldier. I don't know.
No, wait. When you sanction the killing using...
didn't sanction the
Wait
killing.
a minute, hear the question at least.
Don't make a
When I
false
say
statement.
sanction means you use military strategy, which, and I asked you very clearly, does it
Yeah.
include killing? And you said yes.
No, I
enemy
said
is
at all
necessary.
costs, yes.
Enemy is necessary,
I'm
remember?
not American. I said that all.
Enemy is necessary. So what that means is you have now sanctioned the use of military power, the fact that you actually have a military
Yep.
as a Christian queen.
Yes.
Is that in the New Testament that you can have a military power of your own?
It's not in there or not in there.
Okay, so how do you punish someone if they come to attack your country?
Is it in Islam?
It's in
Oh
Islam.
no, you can kill apostates. That's all right.
In Islam, we can have an army to defend the nation with all, and this is exactly what we see in the world today who are not even Muslims, yes, including Britain. They have an army. But I'm asking you, according to you as a Christian ruling by the Bible, are you allowed to have an army to kill your enemies? Then what does it
No,
mean?
no, an army is not only merely for killing. An army is for defence.
Yes, but it includes killing as well.
And when the bin men go on strike, and other
Bin men come in the army
maybe
from-
you're not old enough. They bring in the military. When civil society breaks down to the extent of
Yeah, but there are
strike,
exceptions to the rule is
and
different
there are
things.
exceptions to the rule of.
What you're saying is you have an army to
You're
defend.
saying
What does defend
Paul is
mean?
not an apostle.
If
That's what
your
you're saying.
enemy attacks you, you fight back.
Got
like you
you.
said, kill or be killed.
No.
Now this is
don't agree with
every
your
military in the world uses this strategy. That if somebody comes to attack your country,
Right.
you fight back.
No,
You don't turn the other cheek.
It's not about fighting back.
Will you
it's
turn the
about
other cheek or will you?
defence.
Yeah, but
No, Christ. Let me explain something.
what does defense mean?
Christ.
What does defense mean?
Let me tell you.
Defense means if they
Defense
come
is
to
a
attack
barrier.
you, you defend yourself
Right.
by
Christ's
using force
instruction to
even.
turn the other cheek is to the individual, to nations and